Just nice to have all of you with us here today. And as we do our sharing today, there are two things that really, in a sense, have occupied my mind recently. And these two things are things I want to share with you as a basis for the teaching today. The first one has been something occurring, actually not just recently, but over the past several months and maybe even the past maybe couple of years. And that simply is the growth of each one of us. I think each one of us, when we look at our lives, we just really see that we have come to understand more universal spiritual principles better than we ever have. But more than that, not only do we understand the principles, but I think each one of us is living these principles the best we ever have. I think we're not only more knowledgeable, but we're happy, we're content, we feel strong, and we feel confident. It's wonderful to see the growth of all of our group members and certainly all of you. As one of our members has said, being aware has now become the new normal. It's the way we show up each day. It's not something we have to reach towards, but it's something more and more that we are, and this is how we live. Or as I like to say it, awareness has now become our eyes opened all the time, walking around in the world, state of being. In addition to that event, there has been a recent event that was quite beautiful for all of us. We had a day of perfect weather at a perfect place, and we experienced perfect oneness. And that was the Now Creation Summer Picnic this year. So what I'd like to do in our teachings today is to put these two events together, our growth as well as the summer picnic, and our talk is entitled Experiencing Concepts. Experiencing Concepts. So let's begin. The usual way that most of us grow in life is that we initially hear an idea or concept, and it kind of makes sense to us. So we decide, in a sense, to try it out and see if it works. And if that idea or that concept works, it then becomes an accepted experience. For most of us, concepts initially, in a sense, move us to try something, and they eventually lead to an experience that we accept or come to know. For example, there is the concept or the teaching of the law of attraction. Whatever you focus on increases, and whatever you stop focusing on has a tendency to decrease. So we understand that as a concept, and probably each one of us here has taken that concept and we've applied it to our lives. And we have probably said something like, well, you know, that's true. Whatever I focus on has a tendency to increase in my life, and what I stop focusing on has a tendency to decrease. That concept is true. It works. The law of attraction now has become an experience. The concept has led to an experience. A second example is one of the interesting ones. You've heard it many times, that if you want to change your life, well, you have to change your thinking. You've got to change your thinking. No one can tell you what to think, but whatever you think is what you're going to become. So it's a rather interesting concept. It's really the basis of all of the 12-step programs, especially in assisting people to overcome the stinking thinking that has a tendency to bring us down and to raise us up into a higher possibility. Whenever it comes to stinking thinking, there's an interesting little poem. It is the worst piece of poetry I've ever heard in my entire life, but it is so bad that once I heard it, I've remembered it for life. I'm going to tell it to you today. You will agree it is so bad, but once you hear it, you can never forget it. My life will stink as it has always stunk if I continue to think as I have always thunk. I told you it was terrible, but you can't forget it. My life will stink as it's always stunk if I continue to think as I have always thunk. Well, the concept is true. I become whatever I think. And if I want to improve my life, then I have to improve my thinking. The concept, again, has led to the experience. One last example. A concept that is very strong for all of us is that the power within us is always greater than any particular challenge we might be facing. That's a very, very strong concept. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, one of my personal favorites, was very fond of this saying. Epictetus would say that no matter what is happening to you, either your own death or even the death of a loved one, if you focus yourself in that power, the power will give you the strength you need to face that situation and to see it with new eyes and give you the necessary strength you will need to move through that situation. My presumption is most of us have had to be challenged with that many times in our lives. A big challenge comes up. We feel, in a sense, very weakened by the event, and then we remember, yes, that power within me. I can go to that power within me and allow it to give me a bigger vision and allow it to give me the greater strength to deal with what is going on in my life. And again, we see that that concept has led to an experience, so that no matter what is happening in our lives, we feel that there is always a power within us that will move us through. Not only has it done so, but now we have more and more confidence that it will even into the future. The concept has given us an experience. However, there's another side to the knowing curve. Experience does something for concepts. Just as concepts help us to have experiences, experiences validate concepts. Experiences validate concepts. What I would want to share with you is an experience. It's an experience that most of us had on August 19th of 2018, where we experienced a certain oneness. And this particular oneness that we experienced at our Now Creations picnic has validated many, many, many things in our lives. But before we do that, I want to share with you a teaching by way of a handout. This teaching is from, as you always know, I always like to give the exact references of things. It is from Chapter 5, Section 4, Paragraph 1, Line 11 of A Course in Miracles. And I just ask you now to focus on the teaching. In the presence of those who hear the Holy Spirit's call to be as one, the ego fades away and is undone. Would you just recite it with me, please? In the presence of those who hear the Holy Spirit's call to be as one, the ego fades away and is undone. I'm going to read it again and just edit it just a tad. In the presence of those who hear the Holy Spirit's call to be as one, about 90 of us were able to hear that call a few weeks ago. And we came together as one. We have heard that call of the Holy Spirit. And when you hear the call of the Holy Spirit to come together as one, the ego, both individually and collectively, fades away and is undone. I just want to say it again. A few weeks ago, about 90 of us were able to come together. We heard the call to be as one. The theme of our picnic was uniting the energy. And because we came together in that energy, we experienced something very, very beautiful. And not only did we experience something very beautiful, but on that day, and hopefully since then, individually and collectively, our egos have had a tendency to fade away and be undone. I want to briefly talk about the experiences of the picnic. And there are 3 experiences and 3 comments that I think are extremely important. Yes, the weather was perfect. Yes, the place was absolutely beautiful. Yes, the program was inspirational. And yes, the food was abundant, nutritious, and tasty. But probably the finest experience of the day was the sense of oneness that so many of the people felt in that particular moment. In the course of that day, there was an experience that was very, very interesting that really all of us seem to have. And I want to focus on that by way of 3 comments that perhaps maybe will be very helpful to you, and also in ways in which we can see that experiences validate concepts. Let me share these 3 comments. The most prevalent comment that people shared after the picnic, it was repeated again and again and again, was that there was a feeling of oneness among the people that were there. It just felt like everybody was your friend. Everybody seemed to love each other. Most of us have studied the book Oneness by Rasha. And when she talks about oneness in the book, she says oneness is not a concept that we're simply unified, but oneness is an energetic bond that unifies people. Oneness is an energetic bond that unifies people. I think most of us would say at that particular time, that's exactly what we felt. We felt the energy of oneness that was uniting us there. And as you go back and you look again at the Course in Miracles teaching, because we had answered the call of the Spirit to come together as one, we began to experience a sense of oneness. The oneness validated the concept. The experience validated the concept. Let me then talk about the second most prevalent comment. Most of the people there very much enjoyed the program, and the program that afternoon was having 3 speakers, one of whom was Leslie, as well as then sharing talk at the table with the table mates. And the talk at the table was pretty much focused on your personal spiritual practice and the way that you wanted to go forward in your life. Well, I think everyone enjoyed the comments that people, in a sense, were making by way of the speakers and the sharing at the tables. But what was most interesting to me were a couple of comments made by some of the people there, namely saying that I could agree with everything the speakers said, and the ideas expressed at our table were very, very beautiful. They are ideas that I uphold. It's rather rare to be able to come together with a group of people, maybe 90, that seem to have the same ideas and the same practices. I don't mean we agree on everything, whether you like ketchup or mustard or whatever, but we have a vision of life. It's very interesting to be with people who seem to share a vision of life, and that we can agree and see in what other people are saying and doing what we see and what we do. The experience validated the concept. Oh yes, it's wonderful to be with people of like mind. Yes, it is. And the experience validated that concept. One more particular comment that I thought was quite interesting. The third and the last comment that was quite interesting makes a little bit more sense again if we go back to the handout of the Course in Miracles. And would you join me again in just reading the handout? in the presence of those who hear the Holy Spirit's call to be as one, the ego fades away and is undone. A matter of emphasis, obviously. There were many comments made again on the picnic. Oneness, sharing of experience. But another comment that was so very interesting was the notion, quite simply, that it seemed like nobody had an ego that day. Or as one of the people said very interestingly, said, well, if a person had an ego, it seemed like they checked it at the door before they went to the picnic. It's a very interesting concept. It's kind of like what the law of attraction says. When you come together and stress one thing, what you stop focusing on decreases. We came together to focus on oneness, uniting the energy. And as you focus on the oneness, uniting the energy, what you cease to focus on, namely the ego, individually and collectively, is undone, diminishes, fades away. This is very important for us to understand these principles. When you focus on that which is primary for you, the notion of oneness, and we have a oneness, I think, not just an idea, but we have a oneness in actual experience. It includes everyone, whether they focus on oneness or not. But we focus on this, and because we focus on this, the oneness grows. And as that grows, what you stop feeding has a tendency to be undone and to fade away, individually and collectively. I think of all the things that we have seen occur over the past 12 years of Now Creations and the 20 years of Youngstown Spiritual Society. This has been the most beautiful thing. We are finally getting over personality differences. And we can see and respect everyone as child of God, everyone. And as we do this and grow in this awareness, our own individual difficulties and our own personal egos, as well as a more collective ego, has a tendency to diminish. We have changed. We have changed. Kind of like concerning the ego, remember the old song, Home on the Range? On that particular day at the picnic, there was not heard a discouraging word. And unlike today, the skies were not cloudy all day. In conclusion, what I most want to share with you more than anything else is that oneness, what we focus on, is an evolutionary pathway forward. But for us, it's not just a concept anymore. It is becoming a validation. You are the validation of the experience of oneness. Each one of us here, we validate the concept of oneness. The experience is validating the concept. I believe that this experience of oneness, strengthened by each other, is the evolutionary path forward in the world. A lot of people will say, oh, it will never come about. I just want to tell you, it's coming about because we validate the experience, because we have heard the call of the Spirit, and as we have responded to that call, we find that anything that blocks the oneness has a tendency to fade away and be undone. We are the validation of the idea of oneness. Let's keep that in mind as we move into our meditation. So again, let us be thankful that we have this opportunity here this morning to focus on the experience of oneness, knowing that it is not just a concept anymore, but it is a way of living. Fully now dedicate yourself to this meditation. Let us begin our meditation by just taking a few moments to settle ourselves. Again, use any technique which enables you to do so. Simply reflecting on an idea, some concept, some particular saying, or maybe just focusing on your breath. Whatever enables you to relax yourself physically, settle your mind, and bring your spirit to the fore. Please do that now. Move now into that I am part of yourself, your higher self, your best self. That when you say the word I, you know that it is that part of you that is connected to the universal energy. And just focus on this sense of self, your I-ness, that is far bigger than your personality, and it is your connection into the oneness. Feel your sense of being you. I'll come back to guide you shortly. Let us now proceed in the meditation. Our meditation will have 3 steps. The first one, I have changed. I've changed. Truly, you can say those words to yourself. I've changed. And you know why you've changed. You have ceased seeing yourself simply as a limited personality. And you have answered the call of the Spirit within you. You have answered the call to be a part of something bigger than you had thought yourself to be. You have answered the call of the Spirit. Some days, perhaps more inclusively than others, but nevertheless, progress, continual progress. And most of all, the desire to progress even more, to be fully in spirit. Would you just take a moment to appreciate how much better you have become, how much happier and joyful. And to simply say to yourself, this is the beginning of an even greater expansion. I have heard, am hearing, and will hear the expansive call of the Spirit in my life. Let us now proceed to the second step. It is quite an experience. It is quite an experience to come together with others with whom you can genuinely say, we think the same things. And you can genuinely say, they are as nice as I am. What a find in life to be with others who have the same concepts, but more than that, they have the same behavior. It's not just a unity in concept, but a unity in experience. I know people who think like I do and are just as nice and kind as I am. And I'm sitting by some right now. And lastly now, would you just notice how good you feel right now? You just really feel good. You have focused on spirit. You're with others who have done the same. And that teaching of the Course in Miracles and the law of attraction seems to be your experience, because you have answered the call of the Spirit. You have given it your attention. Any unseemly part of you, the ego, just doesn't seem to be around. It is undone and is fading away. Will you have the courage to live this way? You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to lead a march or be in the spotlight. All you have to do is, answer the call of the Spirit as you hear it. Knowing that as you do so, you, with so many others, are validating the concept of oneness. You have brought the idea into a living experience. This is you. This is the real you. It's the you you've always wanted to be. And now are being it most fully. This is you. Beautiful experience of life. Would you just notice again how good you feel? Just how good you feel. And others with you are responding to the call of oneness. What a wonderful way to live. What a happy way of going forward. And just when you're ready now, bring your attention back into the room, into your body persona, opening up its beautiful eyes, and to allow your wonderful, glorious spirit to shine through.